Hey, it's Jack from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. After yesterday's news about the resignation of the NAR president, Tracy Kasper, the second NAR president within 6 months to resign, I was like totally blown away by yesterday's news, as I'm sure many of you were as well. Like, I didn't see that coming. And as you know, I'm not a big NAR fan, but I thought Tracy Kasper was a very good messenger for her point of view. And the reviews on Tracy Kasper amongst her colleagues were positive, and I was just like shocked that happened. So I thought it was probably a good idea to go back and look at the statement that NAR released yesterday announcing this decision. And the statement basically has 4 paragraphs. The first paragraph, I think, is by far the most interesting. The second paragraph is just a quote from Miss Kasper. Then there's like the point of view of NAR and Mr. Sears, who's the new incoming president. And then there's just a backgrounder, what is NAR? So the first paragraph is by far the most interesting, the most illuminating. By the way, from what I understand, there is no other information out there detailing what happened, right? So we haven't, I'm sure there's some reporters, I hope, digging into this story. But for now, all we can rely on is this official statement. I'm sure there's a lot of theories out there, gossip. I don't really want to traffic in that. I just want to look at the statement that was released yesterday. So let's get into it. NAR President Tracy Kasper informed NAR's leadership team. So right off the bat, you hear this, that it's coming from Kasper. It's not that the leadership team told Kasper it's time to go. It's that Kasper volunteered. That's how they're setting it up here. That she recently received a threat to disclose a past personal non-financial matter unless she compromised her position at NAR. So yesterday, when I first read this, I was like, my original reading of this was either you release this information or you quit NAR. And my gut feeling was that, okay, she decided to quit NAR. But now, upon reading it a second time, having a little bit of reflection upon it, obviously what happened here is she was given this choice, if you believe the story, from the blackmailer, that either she released this information about herself or she takes some type of position as the president of NAR that she would not otherwise have taken. That's what it means to be compromised. You might remember the old Russian word for that. That's called kompromat, right? Kompromat, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is damaging information about a politician, business person, or other public figure that would be used to create negative publicity, as well as for blackmail. I think they even made a movie about that, right? Or used that title. So somebody was trying to dig up some dirt on Tracy Kasper, threatened to leak it to the press unless she took a position as president of NAR that she would not have otherwise taken. And like, whoa, that's, now that you're reading parsing this statement, you're like, whoa, that is explosive. And by the way, I got a quote or a comment on my YouTube channel yesterday from a realtor member. I'm pretty sure he's a realtor. And his quote was from John DeRusso. Sorry, John, I hope you don't mind me quoting you here. I want to give credit because it's an observation which I think is worthy of being pointed out. This is one of many recent events that indicate the real estate industry is under attack from one or more outside forces. The question is who? So, yeah. So who is attacking the National Association of Realtors? Now, you could argue that this has something to do with all of the lawsuits, right? You could argue that. That's one of the reasonable speculations. You could also argue that this is some type of, how do I want to say this, a revenge from the prior president who recently resigned, right? That's a theory. There are a lot of theories out there. And that matters. I think it does matter. But it doesn't matter more than where does the association go from here. Both of those things are probably equally important. In fact, to figure out what happened is probably a key to figure out where you go from here. And it seems as if the association is literally like imploding, to use somebody else's comment on my YouTube channel, in front of ourselves, right? And it does appear that we are moving, as I believe Rob Hahn wrote an article. I only skimmed it, that we're moving towards this situation where maybe there might be a bifurcation between the Realtor Association and the ownership of the MLSs. If I am broadly paraphrasing his most recent work over at Rob Hahn's website, which I don't have a citation for you don't have that pulled up on the computer right here. But from what I understand, getting back to the statement here, there is somebody probably from outside of the organization, we assume, that recently received a threat to disclose her past personal unless she compromised her position at NAR. So going on to the next statement. So she refused to compromise her position at NAR and instead reported the threat to law enforcement. Good for her. Good for her. She said, I'm not going to take your bleep, and I'm going to report this situation to law enforcement. Good for you. I'm glad you did that. That was the right thing to do. By the way, I'm happy to hear your comments today. If you want to type anything in for the comments, that'd be fine. Really interested in your point of view. So she reported this to law enforcement. So when she did that, you would have think, well, either they're going to leak the information or they're going to fold. And because the gig is up, right? When you call the blackmailer out and you basically say, yep, I'm not going to play your game and I'm calling the cops, then the ball's in the blackmailer's court to release the information. But clearly, they have not released the information because we have never learned anything untoward about Tracy Kasper. There's never been, and there's been no scandal about her released recently or anything like that. So it appears as if the bluff was that the blackmail was a bluff, right? Because nobody ever released anything negative about Tracy Kasper, even though she went to the cops. But then the next sentence doesn't make sense because then she felt that in the circumstances, it was best for the organization that she stepped down. So again, they're making it come from her that she initiated this. So if you go to the cops and you're saying to the blackmailer, no, go bleep yourself, then why then subsequently resign? There's a lot of unanswered questions there. The leadership team is deeply concerned about any attempts to undermine its governance, as they should be. I mean, I just watched Lee Brown, and I'm a big Lee Brown fan. I don't know Lee Brown, but she's been an outstanding spokesperson for the realtor cause. And I just watched her video this morning. And apparently, of the 7 top leadership posts, only 5 now are filled. And so if you're the leadership team, you should absolutely be deeply concerned about any attempt to undermine its governance. And apparently this was an attempt to undermine the governance and is taking steps to protect the integrity of the organization. So hold on a quick break here. I just got to answer this question here. Trying to run a business. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. So when you're looking at this, like it doesn't like if you're gonna call the blackmailer's bluff, then why do you still resign? It just doesn't add up. I want to bring you up I got to say that yesterday, in the heat of the moment, I didn't understand or fully comprehend that it wasn't release the information or quit. It was release the information or take a position that you wouldn't otherwise take. That is some deep intrigue. As I said in one of the comments to this the yesterday's video, this is like our own very own as the world turns, right? The guiding light, right? This is our own soap opera. It's crazy. So I want to bring up the video that Lee Brown, a small clip that Lee Brown posted this in her concern about the organization. Let's take a listen. This is from this morning. Oh, hold on. Let me just make a quick switch. There we go.
So I can solve it, because that's how we fix things. So my challenge to you, when you read headlines about leadership and you read headlines about resignations, of course, the shock comes first. The second thing that should come forward is you go ahead and pray for that person, because you don't know what went on. I don't know what went on. My name's Bennett and I ain't in it. Now's the time to pray for those who have stepped aside, pray for those who have stepped in, and then take action to fill the empty slots. This is the time for the board to call for a special meeting and say we need to elect somebody to both of those vacant roles so that our leaders can have a full contingent of support for making very complicated decisions at a very complicated time. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. If organized real estate goes down, property rights goes down. And if
All right, so there you hear from Lee Brown. She's calling for an emergency meeting to fill the now 2 empty slots at the top of the organization, which is under attack. Now, I diverge from Lee Brown in her assessment that if the Realtor Association is not everything. And if it went away tomorrow, that does not mean property rights go away tomorrow. There are, I understand, there are significant concerns about property rights. I get that. But the Realtor Association isn't everything when it comes to that. There are other people that could defend property rights, as we should. And this organization appears to literally being imploded upon itself when the organization kind of rights its ship. There has to be if it's going to recover, there has to be how do I want to say this, Warren Commission report, one that's actually believed, that discloses everything that actually happened here. If this organization is to survive, if the National Association of Realtors is to survive, they have to come clean on what's going on. They probably also have to restructure their governance, because right now it's governed in a way where the swamp, so to speak, the director, the bureaucracy runs the organization to the detriment of the leaders and to the detriment of the membership. I think that's quite clear right now, right? That is absolutely positively clear. I want to point out a interesting add-on that Inman put on the bottom of their story when they covered this yesterday. They said it's uncertain of whether or not Kasper will play a role at NAR. And then they added this interesting note. On December 18th, NAR's executive committee adopted a policy effective immediately that an elected officer who resigns or is removed from office, check this out, is not eligible for any of the benefits or privileges afforded to that office, or to the individual for having served in such office, may no longer serve as a NAR director at any time, and is prohibited from attending NAR meetings and events in person and or any meeting or event held in conjunction therewith. A lawyer wrote that. Unless a specific exemption is granted by the executive committee. This went into effect on December 18th, and one can only speculate that this is particularly targeted at the former president of NAR, Mr. Purcell, who resigned after a New York Times expose relative to potential sexual harassment claims, allegedly. So it now seems that Tracy Kasper, who put this policy into place, is actually now going to be subject to this policy, and that unless she receives a specific exemption granted by the executive committee, that Tracy Kasper herself would be unable to attend a NAR meeting or unable to serve as a director at any time. I mean, talk about the irony is incredible. Kasper posted this policy herself on the Hub, which is how the realtors get their membership information news, the internal member communication platform, stating that the policy encourages ethical leadership, responsible decision-making, and aims to preserve the integrity of the office of the president or any elected officer. And there's a screenshot further down from the Hub that Inman posted. So it seems that now that she's resigned, she is now barred, unless, once again, you get some type of waiver. She's barred from attending any NAR event, which it all, do I want to say this? But it seems as if, I mean, one of the major suspects, the way I kind of thinking about it, is the prior president. And or something to do with the lawsuit commission. I don't. One thing I don't want to speculate about is the personal non-financial matter, because that could be a lot of things. Like what was it that Tracy Kasper was being blackmailed with? That could be a lot of things we probably shouldn't speculate. But we can speculate on the potential perpetrators, and of which there are probably several. Man, as the world turns, right? Or any of the other soap opera titles, there's got to be many more shoes to drop on this story. All right. Until then, I'm Jack Gately from Jack Gately Real Estate and the Online Real Estate Academy. We'll keep you posted. Bye-bye. Go make some money. Oh, we had a comment. Sorry. How did I miss that? Here's our comment. Okay. Jacqueline Smith, Phoenix, Arizona Real Estate. I'm going to start from the start to scratch this whole video, but I wanted to thank you for the content you put out. Oh, thank you, Jacqueline. Very nice of you. Yeah, go watch yesterday's video. Yeah, as well. So thank you so much for that comment, and glad that you're here. And good morning, Sharon, right? I got the name wrong the other day, didn't I? I'm sorry, Sharon. Sharon, good morning from Cape Cod. All right. By the way, since I mentioned Lee Brown, and here she is here again. She's running for Congress in North Carolina. She's running for Congress in North Carolina. And just a quick aside, as I finish up this video, if I was in North Carolina, I'd vote for Lee Brown. Wow, what an articulate spokesperson. And occasionally she drops her political point of view from time to time. And I got to tell you, aside from the realtor stuff, like politically, I think we're in tune. And yeah, so she's running for Congress. I wish we could vote for Congresswoman candidates like Lee Brown here in Massachusetts. But of course, it's Massachusetts, so we can't. We don't have that option, unfortunately. But good luck for Lee Brown in her race for Congress. Hope that goes well for you. All right, so that's the end of today's show. Go make some money. Have a great day. The story will continue. Bye-bye.